horror lurks around every corner in Little Nightmares 2's sinister city setting. This deadly game of hide and seek picks up where the original left off, this time with an entirely new set of twisted tormentors hunting you. Through a variety of dread inducing locations, it's a formula that works, and Little Nightmares 2 certainly has its fair share of exhilarating moments over the course of its fleeting 4-hour duration, but it also picks utilizing many of the original puzzle solving and stealth mechanics instead of being a shocking new horror. Little Nightmares 2's stalk through the shadows ultimately proves to be somewhat of a retreat. New protagonist Mono may look different to the original Game 6, donning a paper bag mask in place of her distinctive yellow raincoat, but his skill set is largely the same. The key difference here is Mono's ability to pick up and wield a handful of different weapons to either smash through sections of the scenery or to swat away smaller enemies like the disembodied hand that stalk you through Little Nightmares 2 hospital level. Additionally, Mono is equipped with the service of Six herself, since she tags along as an IO controlled partner through much of the journey. Six's role is that of a slightly more proactive version of Yorda for myself, but her relationship with Mono doesn't really evolve into a partnership that made the PS2 classic so special. Instead, Six acts as a handy guide whenever one of the Little Nightmares 2 adult antagonists gives chase, placing a trail few yards in front of you and indicating, for instance, which crate to hide behind and split second before a lumbering farmer can unload a shotgun tray. This obviously helps to minimize trial and error in more high-pressure sequences, but her companionship doesn't really introduce much in the way of teamwork as far as puzzles are concerned. Yes, there is a dedicated input for beckoning her over your position, but I don't really recall ever actually needing to use it in order to coordinate a way through a puzzle solution. There aren't many complex mechanisms that demand to be operated in tandem, and it doesn't really ever get more dynamic than simple synchronized acts like climbing on top of a piano lodge among some broken floorboards and timing your jump so that the combined force of your landing can propel it downwards into the basement. It's admittedly quite adorable the way Six will occasionally mimic Mono's actions when he picks up important puzzle items. She'll often scoop up a wooden building block and amble along behind him, shadowing him like a younger sibling. But much like a little sister, Six also often finds herself getting in the way, stubbornly standing still to block your path, while you're dragging a piece of furniture or accidentally nudging you out of corner when you're trying to remain hidden from a watchful gaze of a wide-eyed warden. While Six's inclusion eventually has a surprising story payoff late in Little Nightmares 2, in a way I won't spoil here, her presence feels largely underutilized for the bulk of the adventure. It also breaks the immersion somewhere that Mono is so easily spotted the moment he sets foot outside the shadows, yet Six can seemingly stumble around in the spotlight right under an enemy's nose and attract about as much attention as a broken television set. Little Nightmares 2 gloomy narrative, which appears to be sardonic commentary on the serene obsession of modern society. This leads to some hilariously dark moments later on when, after Mono has picked up a discarded TV remote, he's able to toggle these Google boxes on and off to draw the focus of certain enemy types and lure them into their death like media-loving lemmings. As was the case with the original, it's the villains that really are the stars of Little Nightmares 2. There are a number of genuinely terrifying creations hell-bent on snuffing you out, but the one that had me most on edge was a school teacher with the serpentine neck. Just hearing the leathery squeak of her scratching spine off camera was enough to make me wince, but The appearance of the dead glare eyes, bobbling at the end of it and twisting its way up towards the elevated hiding spot in the classroom's rafters was genuinely a chilling sight. How do you avoid this hulking tower of terrors, however, is by relying the most on the same simple stealth techniques established in your original crouch walking to quieten your footsteps and scurrying between the shadowy undersides of the table during the short windows in which their gaze is averted. Little Nightmares 2 is every bit as black, bleak, and eerily beautiful as the original. It's also just as brief, and although the reintroduction of Six's character as an AI control co-op partner ultimately serves the story well, she is not used to as a vehicle to take the game puzzle solving itself to interesting new places, which seems like a really missed opportunity. While I still very much enjoyed each thrilling encounter with its menacing mob of monstrosities.